Despite the various means by which investigators attempt to track down criminals during an investigation, there are thousands of cases that have yet to reach a conclusion, either due to a lack of evidence or simply because the perpetrators are smart enough to evade the long arm of the law. Number 5. On the 26th of November 2011, a Walmart store located in South Topeka, Kansas, became the target of a robbery that would be regarded as the largest cash robbery that the city had ever seen, and just one man was responsible. But despite the culprit being caught on surveillance footage, he's never been identified. It all began just after 3:20 a.m. that morning, after the store had just finished its Black Friday sale, an event that can be very chaotic in itself. That's when a man walked into the store unnoticed and headed to the manager's office. Here, he demanded cash from the manager, who obliged, and he then simply walked out of the store as if nothing had happened, and managed to make his escape in a silver Chevrolet Malibu with the number plate 154 BSF. The car was later recovered, but it was found to have been stolen and no further evidence was found inside the vehicle, bringing the investigation to a screeching halt. It was later found that he managed to get away with around $250,000, and considering that this was a one-man job, that's quite the haul. Investigators are unsure whether this was an inside job, since the man bypassed certain security measures to get to the manager's office, but they aren't ruling it out as a possibility. The man can be seen in the CCTV footage wearing a tan jacket, jeans, black-rimmed glasses, and a black shirt. The brazen robber made no attempt to hide his face during the robbery, but he's still at large despite clear images being made available to the public. Staff at the store described the man as having a shaved head and a stocky build, and they added that he had a dark mustache. They also stated that he's never become aggressive and didn't threaten any of the employees while the robbery was underway. Crime Stoppers has offered a $5,000 reward for any information that leads to the man's arrest, and Walmart decided to add an extra $2,000 to that amount, in hopes that someone will recognize the robber and come forward with relative information. Number 4. Many criminals attempt to get rid of any evidence of their misdeeds as soon as the crime has been committed, and it's very often the case that they choose a body of water as a disposal site, since they're hard areas to search and the water usually gets rid of evidence such as fingerprints over time. In 2022, Sailboat Lake in Broward County, Florida, was found to contain a graveyard of vehicles that may be tied to various crimes in the area, and the police are hoping that they might help in the apprehension of the criminals that were involved. The discovery was made by an organization called Guardians for the Missing, which was founded by Allison McManus after one of her relatives went missing in 2006. During a search of the lake, divers first found an old Bentley that had been dumped in the water, but this was only the tip of the iceberg. The group decided to alert the police to their discovery, and when the site was investigated further, they found an additional 7 vehicles in the lake. But they soon discovered that another nearby lake also contained a number of cars, all of which were removed from the water for further investigation. And by the end of the operation, 25 vehicles were recovered. Investigators have stated, however, that these cars aren't necessarily from the surrounding area, as these cars may have been driven from anywhere in the country before being deposited in one of the 2 lakes to conceal a crime. Divers stated that it was a daunting task since visibility in the water was very low, and they could see at most about 8 inches in front of them. Police officers believe that the cars may have been involved in any number of crimes, or that the vehicles may have been stolen before they were ditched by the culprits. At the time, McManus and her team were searching for 25-year-old Stephen Metcrell, who went missing in July of 2015, but his car was not among those that were recovered from the lake. There is, of course, the possibility that some of the cars ended up in the water during an accident, but this seems unlikely since the other cars would probably have been discovered after an accident report. Number 3. Around 10 p.m. on Monday, the 18th of August, 2014, the Cove Tavern in Hallett Drive, South Australia, was targeted by a robber who managed to get away with an undisclosed amount of cash, and he remains unidentified to this day, despite the fact that he was caught on the tavern's CCTV cameras. In the footage, the man can be seen wearing a bright orange Everlast jacket that's been turned inside out. He's also wearing black striped tracksuit pants, a black long-sleeved shirt with stripes down the sleeves, sunglasses, a face mask, gloves, and a dark beanie. After entering the premises, he produced a firearm and walked over to one of the counters. But he then walks over to a different counter after talking to a member of staff. Here, he's seen agitatedly waving the firearm around, and at one point he starts feeling through his pants pockets as if he's looking for something, but it's not known what he was searching for. A staff member then walks into view and places a stack of money on the counter. The robber quickly grabs the money and makes a hasty escape. Investigators later added that they believed he made his getaway in a dark-colored Holden Commodore sedan, since the car was spotted by a waitress as it drove away from the scene at high speed. But the vehicle was never tracked down, and the man remains on the run today. Staff from the tavern's gaming room described the robber as standing around 6 foot 3 inches tall, with a stocky and slightly overweight build. Australian police have asked anyone who recognizes the man to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-333-000 or visit their website at crimestoppersa.com.au. Number 2. ATMs are often seen as easy pickings by robbers who are looking for an easy payday. But pulling such a robbery off is no small task, since they're fitted with numerous security systems to prevent such an event. But disregarding this fact, one robber in Queensland, Australia, decided to attempt a robbery on an ATM machine that was situated in a sports club known as Western Suburbs Leagues Club. And his method of entering the premises has left the owner of the club and investigators shocked. CCTV footage of the incident from 2:57 a.m. on the 6th of January 2021 shows the club completely empty as it was closed for the night. But suddenly, dust can be seen flying into the building as the robber used a Toyota Hilux to smash into the front of the building. He's unsuccessful the first time, so he decides to make another attempt, and this time the vehicle makes it through the reception area's entryway backward. The front doors can be seen flying into the room, but unfortunately the robber's face isn't visible through the vehicle's windshield. Despite the fact that he made it inside successfully, the man then drives the Hilux outside again, and once again, he rams into the building. He would continue to do this a further 13 times, 15 times in total. When he was satisfied that he'd cleared the way sufficiently, he drove the vehicle outside one last time and enters the building on foot in search of the ATM, but he's left disappointed when he discovers that there's no cash inside the machine, since it was emptied and left open when the club closed for the night, and all the cash was transferred to a secure area for safekeeping in case of such an event. Witnesses near the scene described hearing the massive commotion, but stated that they were too frightened to approach the building, since they were certain that something untoward was happening. The robber caused a massive amount of damage that included not only the gaping hole left in the front of the building, but also walls that were all but knocked down, counters that were completely demolished, and even damage to the ceiling. The Hilux was later recovered a short distance away from the scene of the crime, but investigators found that it had been stolen sometime earlier from Eaton near Peak Downs Highway, and it was seized for further forensic testing, but no further evidence was found to identify the robber. The manager of the club, Kingsley Thiber, estimated the damage caused by the robber to be close to $250,000, in what many described to be the worst ramming robbery they had ever seen. Despite being caught on the club's CCTV security system, the robber was never identified, and Australian police have asked anyone with information on the case to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-333-000 or via the Crime Stoppers website. Number 1. It's not often that a robber almost loses all of his takings immediately after committing a robbery. But one man in Cannes, France did just that in July of 2013, while he was making his escape after completing one of the largest jewel thefts that the country has ever seen. At the time, the Carlton International Hotel in Cannes was in the midst of a diamond exhibition called Extraordinary Diamonds, when a man walked into the hotel and produced a firearm that he then pointed at security officers, sales staff, and a manager that was on duty at the time. He demanded that they hand over the jewels, and fearing for their lives, they did as he asked. He then loaded his haul, which came to a total of around $138 million, into a suitcase that he had brought with him and started to make his getaway. But as he jumped through the window onto the street below, he He lost his grip on the suitcase and it dropped to the ground, spilling the contents. However, the man was able to recover and he gathered most of the stolen jewels before fleeing. It's believed that he was accompanied by a fellow robber who was waiting outside the hotel in a getaway vehicle, but this was never confirmed by investigators. Quite unbelievably, another jewelry store in Cannes was robbed just 3 days later, possibly by a group known as the Pink Panther Gang, and they made off with millions in jewels without being identified. It's believed that this group of robbers included the same man who robbed yet another store a few days earlier, and on that occasion, he actually apologized for his actions, saying, "Sorry, it's the economic crisis." All in all, the robbery at the Carlton Hotel took a total of 60 seconds to complete, but it's hailed as the largest robbery of its kind to ever take place in France, and there isn't much hope that the jewels will ever be recovered. A spokesman stated that the robbers usually have the stones polished to change their size and shape as soon as possible after the robbery has been committed, ensuring that they can't be traced back to the scene of the crime. Investigators reviewed the hotel's CCTV security systems, but they found no useful evidence and the robber has never been caught. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.